Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As the dim glow of the old desk lamp illuminated the chaotic scene, the persistent ring of the phone cut through the heavy silence for the third time. Bradley Foster sat amid a sea of technical blueprints and intricate diagrams, his engineering masterpieces halted midway. With a sigh, he reached for the phone, a sense of resignation washing over him. He knew his twin's voice would be on the other end, a voice only a sibling could truly recognize.
"Hey, you're calling earlier than usual,"
Bradley said, his tone laced with wry humor. "Brad, I'm in a bind here." Diana's voice crackled, fragile and strained. "It's not just your usual hand-holding this time." Bradley smiled at their familiar banter, oblivious to the gravity of her request. They only hold inductions once per semester. If I miss it, I'll have to wait until next fall. The desperation in Diana's voice was palpable. "Brad, please, I need you to go in my place." "What?" Bradley nearly dropped the phone. "That's insane! They'll know I'm not you!" "No, they won't. None of them have met me in person yet. All the interviews were over Zoom because of scheduling issues. We're the same height, same build, same hair color, with the right clothes and a little makeup. Diana, this is ridiculous. I'm your brother, not your stunt double. It's just for one night, Brad. Just the induction ceremony. I'll be better in a few days and no one will ever know. Please, I've wanted this since freshman year." Bradley sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. The thought of dressing as a woman was absurd, but Diana had always been there for him. When he'd broken his arm sophomore year, she'd taken notes for him in every class for 6 weeks. "Fine. One night, but you owe me big time." "Thank you. I'll text you the address. Everything you need is in the garment bag in my closet. The white lace dress, the nude pumps, and there's a wig that matches my hair. You need to be there by 8. Bradley hung up, already regretting his decision. 3 hours later, standing in Diana's dorm room, Bradley stared at his reflection in the full-length mirror with a mixture of shock and disbelief. The white lace dress hugged his frame in ways he hadn't expected, the padding creating subtle curves where needed. Diana's roommate, sworn to secrecy, had helped with the makeup, transforming his features with expert strokes of foundation, eyeliner, and subtle pink lipstick. The blonde wig, matching his natural hair color but falling in gentle waves to his shoulders, completed the illusion.
"I can't believe this is working,"
he muttered, turning slightly to see the back of the dress. "Seriously, it's uncanny," Diana's roommate Emma said, making final adjustments to the wig. "Your face structure is so similar to Diana's. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were her." Bradley took a tentative step in the nude pumps. "I'm going to break an ankle in these." "Just take small steps and keep your weight centered. You'll be fine." Emma checked her watch. "You better get going. Remember, your name is Delilah Foster tonight. Diana's been using that name with the sorority because she hates her actual name." Delilah. Right. Bradley, now Delilah, took a deep breath and grabbed the small clutch purse Emma handed over. "One night, I can do this." The Theta Phi House stood as an impressive Victorian structure on the edge of campus, illuminated with warm lights and adorned with the sorority's Greek letters. Bradley's heart pounded as he carefully navigated the stone path to the front door in the uncomfortable heels. With each step, he silently rehearsed his lines, trying to channel his sister's mannerisms and voice pattern. The door swung open before he could knock, revealing a poised young woman in a black cocktail dress with a pearl necklace. "You must be Delilah. I'm Victoria, Theta Phi's president." She extended a manicured hand. "We've been looking forward to meeting you in person." Bradley cleared his throat and pitched his voice higher. "It's so nice to finally meet you, too." Victoria ushered him inside, where a dozen other women in formal attire conversed in small groups around an elegant foyer. "Everyone, this is Delilah Foster, our final pledge for this semester." All eyes turned to Bradley, and for a terrifying moment, he was certain they would see through his disguise. Instead, warm smiles and greetings came his way as the sisters introduced themselves. "Your dress is absolutely gorgeous," commented a redhead named Rebecca. "That lace detail is divine." "Thank you," Bradley replied, trying to match their enthusiasm without overdoing it. "I've been saving it for a special occasion." Victoria linked arms with him, guiding him toward the central hallway. "Let me show you around before the ceremony begins. We're so glad you could join us tonight, Delilah. Your academic record and community service history are exactly what Theta Phi values." For the next hour, Bradley carefully navigated conversations about classes, professors, and sorority traditions, drawing on what his sister had told him and improvising the rest. To his surprise, no one questioned his identity or noticed anything amiss about his appearance or mannerisms. The induction ceremony itself was held in a candlelit room at the back of the house. Standing in a circle with 5 other inductees, Bradley repeated the Theta Phi oath, careful to maintain his softer, higher-pitched voice. When the president placed the sorority's pearl pin on his dress, he felt an unexpected surge of accomplishment, as if he'd crossed some strange threshold.
"Congratulations, sisters," Victoria announced. "Welcome to Theta Phi."
The room erupted in applause, and Bradley found himself swept into warm hugs and congratulations from all sides. For a brief moment, he forgot he was in disguise, genuinely caught up in the camaraderie of the moment. "This calls for celebration," Victoria announced. "Nothing too wild tonight, but we have champagne and desserts in the dining room." As the evening progressed, Bradley grew more comfortable in his role. The sisters were intelligent, ambitious women with diverse interests, nothing like the shallow stereotypes often portrayed in movies. They discussed politics, academic goals, and their community outreach programs with passion and insight. "Delilah, you mentioned you're majoring in environmental science," Victoria said as they enjoyed chocolate-covered strawberries. "We're planning a campus sustainability initiative next month. Would you be interested in heading the committee?" Bradley hesitated, knowing he needed to decline any future commitments.
"I'd love to learn more about it, but I might have some scheduling conflicts coming up."
"No pressure. Think about it and let me know next week at our chapter meeting." Victoria smiled warmly.
"I just have a feeling you're going to bring something special to Theta Phi."
By midnight, when Bradley finally said his goodbyes with promises to see everyone at the next meeting, he felt a confusing mix of relief and reluctance. The charade was over. He'd successfully completed his mission for Diana. Yet something about the evening had affected him in unexpected ways. The acceptance, the sense of belonging, even the confidence he'd felt as Delilah. It lingered as he made his way back to Diana's dorm. "How was it?" Diana asked eagerly from her bed, still looking pale and feverish as Bradley entered her room.
"It was fine,"
he replied, kicking off the uncomfortable heels with relief.
"No one suspected anything. You're officially a Theta Phi sister."
Diana broke into a wide smile. "Thank you so much, Brad. I know this was way beyond what siblings usually do for each other." She studied his face. "Are you okay? You seem weird." Bradley shrugged, carefully removing the wig.
Just tired. It's been a long night of pretending to be someone I'm not.
He gathered the dress and accessories.
When do you think you'll be well enough to take over?
The doctors said this virus usually runs its course in 3 to 5 days. I should be fine by the weekend.
Great.
Bradley nodded, already heading for the door.
Feel better soon.
Back in his apartment, after scrubbing off the makeup and changing into sweatpants and a t-shirt, Bradley found himself unable to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of the evening, the warm acceptance, the sense of belonging, the strange confidence he'd felt walking in those heels. It was disconcerting how comfortable he'd become in Diana's clothes after just a few hours.
It was just acting, he told himself firmly. Anyone would get caught up in a role they were playing.
But as dawn broke, Bradley wasn't entirely convinced. 2 days later, Diana called again.
I'm still really sick,
she groaned.
The doctor says it might be pneumonia. They're running more tests.
Bradley felt a twinge of concern.
Do you need me to bring you anything?
Actually, there's a Theta Phi meeting tonight. It's mandatory for new members.
Diana's voice turned pleading.
Brad, I hate to ask.
No.
Bradley's response was immediate.
Diana, I can't keep pretending to be you. It was supposed to be one night.
Please, Brad, just one more time. If I miss this meeting, they'll think I'm not serious about the sorority. I've wanted this for so long.
Bradley paced his apartment, running a hand through his short blonde hair.
This is crazy, Diana. What if someone finds out? We could both get in serious trouble.
No one will find out. You already proved it works.
She coughed painfully. The doctor says I need at least another week of rest. Just cover for me until then, and I swear I'll never ask for anything again.
The rational part of Bradley's brain screamed that this was a terrible idea. Yet another part, a part he wasn't ready to acknowledge, felt a flutter of anticipation at the thought of becoming Delilah again.
Fine,
he finally conceded.
One more time. But this is it, Diana. I mean it.
You're the best brother ever. Everything you need is still in my closet. The meeting's at 7. That evening, Bradley found himself once again transforming into Delilah. This time, he handled the makeup himself, following tutorials he'd found online with surprising dexterity. The dress for tonight was different, a pale blue floral sundress with a cardigan that Diana had labeled meeting outfit in her closet. He paired it with white ballet flats that were mercifully more comfortable than the heels. Looking in the mirror, Bradley was startled by how natural the transformation felt the second time. His movements in the dress were less awkward, his voice modulation came more easily, and when he smiled at his reflection, he could almost believe he was looking at Diana. The chapter meeting was held in the Theta Phi House's formal living room. Seated on a plush couch between Rebecca and another sister named Claire, Bradley took careful notes about upcoming events and responsibilities as Victoria led the discussion.
Delilah, how's your schedule looking for the campus tour next Thursday?
Victoria asked.
We need a few sisters to show potential pledges around.
Bradley smiled apologetically.
I might still be recovering from this bug I'm fighting,
he improvised.
Can I let you know closer to the date?
Victoria nodded sympathetically.
Of course. Just text me when you're feeling better. After the meeting, several sisters invited Delilah to join them for coffee at the campus cafe. Against his better judgment, Bradley agreed, finding himself drawn into their circle as they discussed classes, professors, and campus politics. The conversation flowed naturally, and he surprised himself with how easily he engaged with these women as one of their own.
You seem different from our Zoom calls, Rebecca commented as they sipped their drinks. More confident, I think. Bradley's heart raced.
Different how?
In a good way, she clarified. Like you're really coming into your own. Some people just blossom in college, you know?
I guess I'm finding myself,
Bradley replied softly, and was surprised to realize how true that felt. One meeting turned into 2, then 3. Diana's illness lingered longer than expected, with complications requiring another week of rest. Each time Bradley transformed into Delilah, the process became more natural, more comfortable. He began to look forward to the sorority meetings, to the easy camaraderie of the sisters, to the freedom he felt in Delilah's clothes and identity. By the 3rd week, he was helping organize a charity fundraiser, contributing ideas that were met with enthusiasm and appreciation. The sisters valued Delilah's perspective, sought her opinion, and included her fully in their circle. Bradley found himself thinking of Theta Phi even when he wasn't there, planning his contributions, anticipating the next event. In his regular life, Bradley began to withdraw. He attended his engineering classes with decreasing enthusiasm, turned down invitations from male friends, and spent more time researching women's fashion and makeup techniques. His dormitory room gradually accumulated items belonging more to Delilah than to Bradley: a flowery perfume, a subtle pink nail polish, a fashion magazine. Then came the day Diana called to say she was finally well enough to return to her normal routine. "The doctor cleared me. I can take over Theta Phi starting tomorrow," she announced cheerfully. "You're finally off the hook, Brad. I can't thank you enough for covering for me." Bradley sat on the edge of his bed, phone clutched tightly in his hand, feeling as though the floor had dropped away beneath him. That's great news," he managed to say, his voice hollow.
I'll need everything back. The clothes, the wig, all of it. I'm so excited to finally meet everyone in person. Right, of course.
Bradley stared at the pale pink blouse hanging on his closet door, a new purchase he'd made for Delilah.
When do you want to meet? How about tomorrow morning? I'll come to your place.
After hanging up, Bradley stood in the middle of his room, surrounded by the evidence of his double life. The thought of giving it all up, of never being Delilah again, created a physical ache in his chest. For the first time, he fully confronted what he'd been avoiding for weeks. Delilah wasn't just a character he was playing for his sister's benefit. Delilah had become part of him, perhaps the truest part. Diana arrived at 10 the next morning, looking healthy again if a bit thinner from her illness. Her eyes widened as she took in Bradley's apartment, the neatly arranged makeup on his desk, the dresses hanging in his closet alongside his male clothes, the women's magazines stacked on his nightstand. "Wow, you really got into character," she commented, picking up a tube of lipstick. "Method acting, huh?" Bradley sat down heavily on his bed.
"Diana, we need to talk."
Something in his tone made her turn to look at him more carefully. "What's wrong?"
"I don't think I can give this up."
The words tumbled out before he could reconsider.
Being Delilah, I mean. It feels right in a way nothing else ever has.
Diana sat beside him, confusion evident on her face. "What are you saying, Brad?" "I'm saying that these weeks pretending to be you, to be a woman, have made me realize things about myself I've been suppressing for a long time." He took a shaky breath.
When I'm Delilah, I feel authentic. I feel like myself.
Diana was silent for a long moment, processing. "You mean you want to continue cross-dressing?" Bradley shook his head slowly.
"It's more than that. I think I might be transgender, Diana. I think I've always been a woman inside, but I never had the opportunity or courage to acknowledge it until now.
To her credit, Diana didn't laugh or dismiss him. She took his hand, studying his face with the careful attention only a twin could give. How long have you felt this way? I don't know. Forever, maybe? But it only became clear when I started living as Delilah. Everything just clicked. He squeezed her hand. I know this is a lot to take in. I'm still figuring it out myself. Diana nodded slowly. So, what do you want to do? I want to continue at Theta Phi, Bradley said, the words gaining confidence as he spoke them. I want to live as Delilah. Not just sometimes, but all the time. I know it means coming clean to the sorority eventually, but they've become important to me. They know me, the real me, better than anyone except you. Diana was quiet for a long moment. You know, when we were kids, I always wondered why you were so interested in my clothes and my dolls. Mom and Dad thought it was just twin closeness, but maybe it was something else all along. Bradley gave a small smile, remembering. Maybe it was. Okay, Diana said finally. If this is who you really are, I'll support you. But we need to figure out the Theta Phi situation. They think you're me, and that's not fair to anyone. I know. I need to tell them the truth. Not all at once, Diana cautioned. Let me help you figure this out. After all, we're in this together now. The next day, Diana accompanied Bradley, still presenting as Delilah, to the Theta Phi house. They had agreed on a modified version of the truth, that Diana had asked her sister Delilah to attend the induction in her place due to illness, but then Delilah had continued attending while Diana recovered. It wasn't the whole story, but it was a starting point. Victoria listened to their explanation in her office, her expression gradually shifting from confusion to understanding. So, you're twins, but not identical twins, she clarified, looking between them. Diana was the one we accepted based on the application, but Delilah is the one who's been attending our functions. Yes, Diana confirmed. I was really sick, and I didn't want to miss the induction, so I asked Delilah to go in my place. But then my illness dragged on, and Delilah kept attending. Victoria turned to Bradley. And you want to continue with Theta Phi, Delilah? Even though you weren't the one we initially accepted? Bradley nodded, hands clasped tightly in his lap. I've grown to love being part of Theta Phi. The sisters, the values, the community, it all means so much to me. I know I wasn't honest about how I came to join, but everything else, my contributions, my friendship, that's all been genuine. Victoria considered this for a long moment. We'd need to review your applications separately, but honestly, you've already proven yourself as a valuable member these past weeks. She smiled. Let me discuss this with the executive board, but I think we can work something out. Relief washed over Bradley. The first hurdle had been cleared, but there was still a much bigger truth to share. Over the next month, Bradley continued to live as Delilah within the sorority while gradually transitioning in other aspects of his life. He began sessions with a gender therapist, researched medical options, and slowly came out to close friends. Diana remained his strongest supporter, helping him navigate both the practical and emotional aspects of his transition. The Sisters of Theta Phi had fully accepted Delilah as her own person, separate from Diana. Bradley's contributions to the sorority, particularly his work on the sustainability initiative, had cemented his place in their community. Yet, he still carried the weight of not being fully honest about who he was. Finally, after careful preparation and with Diana by his side, Bradley requested a private meeting with Victoria
and the executive board of Theta Phi, seated in the formal living room, wearing a simple green dress that had become one of his favorites, Bradley took a deep breath and shared his full story, how filling in for Diana had awakened his understanding of his true gender identity, how being Delilah had finally allowed him to be authentic, and how much the acceptance of the sorority had meant during this journey.
"I understand if this changes things," he concluded, voice steady despite his racing heart. "I know Theta Phi is a sorority for women, and there might be rules or traditions that don't accommodate someone like me, but I want you to know that being here, being accepted as one of you, has been the most meaningful experience of my life." Victoria exchanged glances with the other board members before responding.
Delilah, thank you for trusting us with your truth. Theta Phi has always prided itself on being a sisterhood that supports each member's authentic self. Rebecca, the vice president, nodded in agreement. The purpose of our sorority is to create a community where women can thrive and support each other. From what you've shared and what we've experienced with you these past weeks, that's exactly what you're seeking. We'll need to have some conversations about logistics, Victoria continued. But speaking for myself, I believe you belong here. You are a woman, Delilah, regardless of your journey to that understanding. Tears welled in Bradley's eyes, Delilah's eyes now, as the other board members voiced similar sentiments. Where she had expected judgment or rejection, she found only acceptance and support. Diana squeezed her hand. I told you they would understand. 6 months later, Delilah Foster stood in front of the mirror in her room at the Theta Phi house, adjusting the collar of her blouse. Her blonde hair, now growing out naturally past her ears in a stylish bob, caught the morning light. The hormone therapy she'd started 3 months ago had begun to soften her features, and she had mastered the subtle makeup techniques that enhanced her femininity without looking overdone. A knock on her door preceded Rebecca poking her head in. Ready for the alumni brunch? Victoria says we need to be there early to help set up. Almost ready, Delilah replied, grabbing her purse. How do I look? Rebecca smiled warmly. Like yourself. Completely yourself. As they walked across campus together, Delilah reflected on the journey of the past months. There had been challenges, of course. Administrative hurdles with the university, occasional misunderstandings, the ongoing process of educating herself and others. But there had also been profound joy in finally living authentically, in being recognized and accepted as the woman she had always been inside. The Theta Phi sisters had become her strongest advocates, supporting her through name changes on university documents, accompanying her to doctor appointments, and standing by her side when she finally told her parents. Diana, true to her word, had remained her closest ally, often joking that she'd gained a sister in addition to losing a brother. Did I tell you I'm speaking at the gender identity panel next week? Delilah mentioned as they neared the alumni center. No, that's fantastic! Rebecca's face lit up with genuine pride. You're going to be amazing! I'm a little nervous, but it feels important. When I was struggling to understand myself, hearing other people's stories helped so much. Maybe mine can do the same for someone else. Rebecca linked arms with her as they climbed the steps. That's what makes you such a perfect Theta Phi sister, Delilah. You're always thinking about how to lift others up. Inside, the room was already filling with alumni from across generations, all wearing the sorority's colors and pearl pins. Victoria waved them over to help arrange name tags. As Delilah moved through the room, greeting sisters both familiar and new, she felt a profound sense of belonging. What had begun as a reluctant favor for Diana had transformed into the most authentic chapter of her life.
In finding Delilah, she had finally found herself. Later, as the sorority president gave her welcome speech, she specifically acknowledged Delilah's contributions to Theta Phi's recent initiatives. Looking around at the smiling faces of her sisters, Delilah knew with certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be, not just in the sorority, but in her life and in her identity. The journey ahead would have its challenges, but with the foundation of self-knowledge and the support of her sorority sisters, Delilah Foster was ready to embrace whatever came next, as her true, authentic self.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!